when I was in New York last week, I was noticing, I thought prices of things were cheaper. Not like houses and stuff, but like in the grocery store, just like.
Are you shopping at Erewhon? Because what the actual fuck is that?
I know.
I paid $20 for a smoothie.
I can't believe that. I know.
But it's so good.
It is so good. My problem is that I can't finish them.
I put it in the fridge and then I had it as my afternoon snack.
Oh, you did? See, when it gets, the longer it goes, it doesn't taste as good. And then I'm like, I can't get these. I'm wasting them. Oh, I haven't had them.
Oh my God.
I should go get them.
I need so good.
I'm like, all I want right now though is a hot dog.
Okay, fair. Interesting craving.
I know, but it's just like I can't stop thinking about it.
Get a hot dog, girl.
I'm gonna go to Carney's on Sunset Strip right after this and get a hot dog.
Wait, okay, that's actually a great. I'm curious because you've been talking about intuitive eating.
Yes,
and I wanted to talk to you about this because I wouldn't say I'm an intuitive eater, but like I think if you don't think about food, you're an intuitive eater, in my opinion, because you're just eating what you want.
Right.
So I've never like identified with that label, but then when I think about my like method around food, I really am just majority of the time eating what I'm craving in that moment.
And that's what it is.
However, I have such decision fatigue. So like for me, it's easier to just have like, this is just every morning. I just
the same
make it.
thing.
Yeah.
And what is that? Sorry, I know this is not.
No, I go through stints. Right now, it's a protein smoothie.
Okay.
Just because for me, like I can make it in that time that I'm up before my kids that we talked about. Like,
and it gets the
I'll
job
make
done.
it, and then I'm drinking it while I'm giving my son his bottle, while I'm playing with my toddler. Like that just gets the job done for me. What I wish it was is my breakfast at the One Hotel, which is scrambled eggs,
bacon, potatoes, avocado,
like, are you kidding?
Toast.
If someone could make that for me every morning, sign me the fuck up.
See, so like my husband would make that for me every morning if I asked him to do. I know, it's the best. I'm so lucky. I don't cook either. It's weird because like I grew up, I'm one of 5 kids. Paige, who's here, is an amazing cook. All my sisters know how to cook. Even my brother, they all know how to cook. I don't know what happened with me. Like I don't know. The middle child's like,
same. Maybe that's why we vibe.
But but my husband, he's such a good cook that I like rely on him to feed me. But basically I was noticing that like, I just wasn't feeding myself, let alone the right things. Like I was not getting enough nutrients in. And it really took, honestly, me posting something on social media and everyone being like, oh my God, like you have a problem. It took that for me to realize. I remember I said to my husband, I'm like, wow, this post is getting so much engagement. He's like, well, have you been reading the comments? I'm like, oh, not really. No. And he's like, everyone's talking about your weight. And I was like, okay. And so Timmy, he was like, I've been wanting to talk to you about this, but I've always thought that like, cause you go to the doctor and he always says you're healthy and like your number's always good. And I do see you eat that I haven't really been concerned, but I'm noticing like, I think this is an actual thing. And I was like, I don't think it is. Like I got defensive at first and I was like sort of angry at people for making comments about my weight. And I got really defensive and was like, you know what? I've always been a thin person, like, and I am just busy and I don't take care of myself as much as I probably should, but it's not like anything that I need to really do like a deep dive into. And the more I decided I talked to my therapist about it and she unfortunately like got on the scale, which I hadn't done in a while and was like, okay, this is an actual thing that I need to pay attention to. So my therapist recommended me to this amazing doctor, Elise Resch, who actually wrote one of the first books about intuitive eating. And I was really nervous at first to start working with a nutritionist because I was like, this is going to be so daunting and exhausting. I'm going to have to be like calorie counting, eating every hour, like focusing on what I'm eating so much. And for me, that's just like almost too much to the point where if something gets too overwhelming for me, then I just like won't do it. I'm done. I get too paralyzed. But my first session with her was just like, food should be fun. Food should be enjoyable. It doesn't have to be like, is this food good for me? Is this bad for me? It's like, what is your body feeling like it needs right now? And so that's what I've really been trying to focus on is like, one, yes, eating every couple hours because that's the type of person I am. Like I like to snack. I don't like big meals, and that's okay. That's also me tuning into my intuition and being like, you don't have to like huge meals. You don't have to be like a typical eater that eats a big breakfast, big lunch, big dinner. You can be a snacker, like tune into what you are as long as you're getting what you need. So that's definitely like, it's a journey. It's hard because it's really hard. And I say this, it's hard for me to put on weight. Like it's hard for me to do it. So I haven't necessarily gotten to the place like that I want to be, but I am now thinking about what I want to put in my body as opposed to honestly not thinking about it at all.
Yeah.
Like,
what I will say is like, I think I so appreciate just how honest you are and open about this topic because I think A, it's hard to share anything while you're in it because you're still trying to figure it out yourself.
Totally.
B, this topic, I know from experience, I lost a lot of weight accidentally after my first. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm way too thin.
Yeah.
And I worked with a dietitian to gain like another 15 pounds back. And I then hit a place where I was very happy with myself. But it's a weird thing to talk about because weight loss is something that unfortunately we've been conditioned that like skinny is better when it's not.
It's not.
And then it's confusing to say like, well, I didn't mean to lose this weight. I don't want to look this way. I want to gain weight. Like not everyone can relate to that.
Exactly.
So I understand the like timidness of talking about it. I think weight in general triggers a lot of people.
It triggers a lot of people. And especially with me was when I talk about the fertility stuff too, because people are very quick to be like, well, you know, maybe if you gain 10 pounds, you'd be able to get pregnant or, you know, you wouldn't miscarry or they like
really cruel.
They correlate the two and that's when it gets frustrating. But I had to really stop talking about it online for a while because it was really getting to me, just all the comments about what my body looked like. And I talked about it for a second and then it got too much. And I was like, I'm just going to focus and work on this with my nutritionist and not talk about this. And then just like a week ago, I started saying like, this has been my journey and this is what I'm on, and not really getting like too in depth with it and not focusing on the weight aspect of it.
Right.
But just really trying to teach people what intuitive eating is and also how it can be so beneficial for your kids too. Because like for Sunny, what I've learned is like, there is no good food or bad food. We've been conditioned to believe all of these things, but sometimes the stress of not eating something bad is worse than the bad food could be for you, you know?
Absolutely.
So we have to like take the labels off of that. And I think for Sunny, the more that I've just not like forced him to eat or like put any kind of pressure on what he eats, the more he's in tune with what makes him feel good. So now when I ask him what he wants and he's like, I want a chicken Caesar salad, I know it's because he's had a bunch of other shit, the chocolate I've let him eat, whatever he wants. I let him eat pretty much whatever he wants so that he can tune into like how it makes him feel.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's really important because I didn't really connect to that. I feel always like my mom was just cooking food and always preparing everything for me. And I don't want to blame her for it, but I feel like she took a little bit of my independence away when it came to my relationship with food.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned throughout that your fertility, and that also ties into this like talking about things openly as you're experiencing it, which I think is helping so many people, but I also think is really freaking hard.
Really hard.
So I would love to know where you're at with your fertility journey right now, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. So I know. I feel like the past 2 years, I've gone in and out of talking about it. And so people have sort of been a little bit confused as to like where I'm actually at. And that is because I've had to set boundaries with how much I share, because it was really when it was the surrogacy thing that I felt the most nervous about sharing, because I felt like I am coming from a place of privilege when it comes to that, you know, that we're able to afford that and able to do that. And I was so afraid that people were going to judge that situation. And so I really didn't want to talk about it. It wasn't the fact, like the miscarriages were always easy for me to talk about, really honestly. Like the infertility in general is easier for me to talk about because of my community. Like I really don't get the shitty comments when it comes to that. It was more just like the surrogacy thing that really made me feel insecure. And then once I had to come to terms with that on my own, I had to come to terms with my decision to like do another round of egg retrieval and get a surrogate on my own before I could share it. And I really have, like the past 6 months, I really have come to terms with it. So then when I went to New York last week and was going to the doctor, I was like, I'm going to share because I feel fine with this. Whatever anybody's going to say to me now, they can say because like I'm at peace with this. Yeah. So it's been different for me this past week. I've been sharing now in real time what's going on. And I feel like I've just been more able to be like, as long Timmy and I know what our plan is. We know what our decisions are. Nothing that anybody can say to me is going to change that. I'm not going to get confused. I'm not going to try to then make all these calls and try different doctors. Because it was like, once I shared last week, the amount of people that were like, have you done this? Have you tried this? Right. My doctor's amazing and they're in California. You know, like have you gotten tested for this? Has Timmy gotten tested for this? And I was able to be like, all right, they can ask all those questions. That's like, I know it's coming from a place of support, but I know my plan, stick to my plan.
Put your blinders on.
And turn the blinders on and just share the journey, you know?
So right now, are you hoping to do an egg retrieval for a surrogate?
Yes. So basically what happened was like, I was going to do a transfer about, I think it was at the end of 2022. I was going to do a transfer for myself because I was miscarrying. I had miscarried like 5 times. And my doctor was like, thank you. My doctor was like, it's time to go to a fertility specialist. Like you can't just keep going through this.
Pregnant?
I was getting pregnant and then miscarrying from like the 8 to 11 week mark, hearing heartbeats. Only one time was able to do an autopsy of the embryo, and the embryo had chromosomal abnormalities. So it was just, we were assuming that that's what was happening. So went to the fertility specialist, did a round of IVF, and was planning to do a transfer on myself, but got so sick the week I was supposed to do the transfer, throwing up nonstop, like tore up my esophagus, lost within 2 weeks had lost like 10 pounds. That was the start of like really when I started to lose a lot of weight, and just hit a rock bottom and had to call off the transfer, and then was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think I can put my body through this. Like the sickness, it was just like a weird energy thing. I'm like, was I making myself sick? Like I didn't know what was going on. So I just decided, Timmy actually was the first person to say like, maybe surrogacy is like really the best option for us. Like, I don't want to lose you through this process. Right. It's not worth it. So I feel like as soon as he said it like, because it didn't come from me, it like made it more okay, which is so sad at the same time. Because
sometimes we need like a person involved, but on the outside to like lead the way a little bit.
Totally. And like, even though in my head I had been thinking that I thought that would be a good option for me, I was just too, I don't know. It was like I was too ashamed to admit that would be easy for me because I felt like I was taking the easy way out. So he said it and I was like, okay, if I have his support and he said it, maybe I can do this. And then I started to reach out to people who had gone through it. And the more I talked to people who were going through it, the more I was like, I can do this. I can do this. So we did 2 transfers with a surrogate, and she miscarried both times. And these were tested embryos, genetically tested, high quality embryos, and she miscarried. And at that point, we were like, we need to take a little breather from this. And that was like the beginning of the year, this year, when she had the second miscarriage. So I took a little bit of a break.
Good.
Because I was like, it was all starting to make me not want it. like not want a second. It was like so traumatic that I'm like, I'm not even living in my present moment.
Sure
all
it's
I'm thinking
consuming.
about is just, is this ever going to happen? And how are we going to make this happen? So I took a break, and the past few months were like, this spring was so amazing for me.
Good.
Like, so I was able to look at it clearly, to really like get in touch with what I actually wanted. And 2 weeks ago, Timmy and I then had the conversation again, and we were like, we really, really want this, and we feel like we're coming from a stronger place. So let's do it. Luckily, he grew up with this doctor who's become the medical director at Spring Fertility, which is an amazing fertility center in New York. And a lot of people had been telling us to go see her. But again, we live in Los Angeles, like not easy, so much more costly on top of an already insanely expensive situation. And then to have to do the retrieval and all that, it was like a lot, but I felt like this is how we were going to be the most successful. So the plan now, we figured since our surrogate miscarried with those 2 other embryos, the doctor said it's best to just like start with a whole new batch. Even though we have others frozen from the last batch, she was like, you just got to throw different variables at it, like a new surrogate and a new batch of embryos. So basically I'll wait to get my period in July, and then we'll make a plan to do a retrieval probably August.
Okay.
And in the meantime, looking for a surrogate. And that's it right now.
Okay. Well, I'm crossing my fingers for everything for you.
Thank you.
And I'm curious, like for people listening, because I do know a lot of my community has struggled with their fertility. Like I have not had struggles that I can share and connect with them on. Like what helped you throughout this journey? Because it sucks. It fucking sucks.
It really sucks. I think the biggest thing for me, I'm like trying to think what actually really helped. Like I think,
or what didn't help, even if you have that.
Similar to you, what you said really rang true earlier when you said saying something out loud.
Yep.
And trying to make sense of your emotions and hearing yourself as if you were listening to a friend made it so much easier for me. So if I was thinking to myself like, oh, this is my fault. Like I don't know, I should have been eating more properly while I was doing this, or I should have done this 7 years ago. I should have frozen eggs 7 years ago, or all the shoulda, woulda, couldas, I would say like out loud. And then when I would hear myself say that, and I would be like, but no, like.
And you would never say that to a friend.
You would never say that to a friend. You don't have control over this situation. Like those embryos were genetically tested. You put them in a
You're
surrogate.
Not doing anything wrong.
You're not you have the control that we think we have. We just have to release, and we have to release this responsibility that it's on us to make it happen.
I felt that way. I get a lot of questions about like first trimester anxiety and how did you not spiral? And it almost seems kind of backwards, but something that helped me so much was letting go of the control, because I'm like, nothing I do, obviously like withstanding the intense of like getting blacked out drunk or like all of those things, like nothing I do is actually going to change what happens. Like in this moment.
It's so true.
I'm not going to cause a miscarriage. So like, I just have to kind of accept that, and like letting go of that control somehow really helped my anxiety, where I'm like, okay, all I can do is like try to live my life.
Right.
And
do that the best you can and take care of yourself the best you can. But I definitely, then I had, insecurities about the doctor I chose. Like, why didn't I do more research? Why didn't I talk to more people? Like, why, and then would start to feel bad about myself for like, because I have this thing about myself where I just feel like I do things halfway.
Okay.
Like,
you don't strike me as someone that does that.
I feel like I do things halfway, and I'll give you an example.
I was going to say, do
last
you
night.
actually do things halfway, or you convince yourself you've done them
I think
halfway?
sometimes I do them halfway, and then sometimes I convince myself based on those other things that I do everything halfway. This is so small, but just for an example, last night we had our dinner, our High Confectionary dinner, and everyone was posting the wrong tag. Like they were spelling confectionery with an E instead of an A.
Okay.
And I was like, I should have had the handle.
Like, now did I?
You did it right.
I did it.
I was like, I should have printed the handle on the menu. Like, why didn't I print the handle on the menu?
Okay. Keep going, and then I'm gonna
and I was like, this is just so typical of me. Like, this is so me to miss this one. Like, we did this beautiful dinner to like obviously engage and grow a community, and then everyone's tagging the wrong thing. So it's just like
but that's not you doing something half-assed or like 50%. I just want to like be real. That is not you. Like, hindsight's always 20/20. Could you have put the handle on the menu? Yeah. But like, that's not doing something 50%.
But
that's just like an extra detail you could have done. That's definitely not 50%.
Well, that's what I think about myself. So then when I think about the fertility thing, I'm like, this is so typical of me. I can't complete this thing.
I mean, me telling you is not going to stop you from doing this. However, I think you're being way too hard on yourself.
I agree. And I think that's why I have to say those things out loud to then really hear them and would picture my sister or my friend telling me them to then be like, Whitney, you're being crazy.
Well,
you're being way too hard on yourself. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that, and then I think also mostly, honestly, talking about it with my community and like talking about it with people and making it, the more that I would release it, the less big of a deal it was. The more I would release it and the more I would feel that support, the better I would feel. And I know that so everyone talks about that, like how we have to talk about have these hard conversations and feel validated in order to feel okay. But like, it really is the case for me. And that's why when I get so down on social media, I also have to remind myself how amazing it can be at the same time, because I really think so many of these women got me through some really hard times. Like, just hearing other people's stories, as overwhelming and sad as it can be, it totally took the responsibility off me. Like, this is not something that I did wrong. I think tuning into my wants and needs during those times too, and like allowing myself to feel those shitty feelings and not trying to push them down. As opposed to being like, no, like, Whitney, you got this, like being strong about it. I think like everybody needs to allow themselves the grace and the time for that grief. And it's okay to feel those things, and to really just like go through those stages of grief, because a miscarriage can feel that way.
It is that way.
And to not feel like you just have to pick up the next week after the miscarriage and like start again, you know, to really take the time to like process what you went through.
I mean, it is grief. Like, you lost someone. And you lost, I think from what I've witnessed with friends, it's also lost the life that you pictured within that moment of getting a positive test. That's what some of my friends have talked about, of like, the second you see a positive test, you're picturing something and then that's taken from you. So it is a loss.
It is a loss. And I think that the hard part is like, I'm a future spiraler too. And I think most women, whenever they get pregnant, you immediately, you're like, when's my due date? You're in the future immediately. And so I guess for me now, what I try to do is, in all parts of my life, and especially this, is just really try to stay in the present moment.
Yeah.
And my husband's really good about that. He can be like, okay, like, I'm going to be hopeful, but we're not there yet. Like, let's just stay in this moment. And I think that that's something that that I'm trying to really work on now, like, especially with going through this egg retrieval and everything. I could get into a phase of like, okay, we're going to do the egg retrieval in August, and then with the surrogate will happen in September, and then the baby's going to be in June, and then the age difference is going to be 7 years with Sunny, and then like, and then I have to be like, wait a second, down. Like, get back into the moment right now. Like nothing has even happened. Like you haven't gotten your period yet. Nothing. Yeah. None of this has started yet. We all do it, but it doesn't benefit us.
No,
it doesn't.
And it never actually ends up happening.
No,
in that way.
No, and I think it's good to have goals and to have dreams and to manifest things and to envision that. But when I think it comes to the reality of like a timeline, that we're not in control of that. And so we have to just be in the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with this, we've talked about like you sharing openly and your community. And we talked a bit about the concept of like being okay with being misunderstood on your episode.
Yeah.
And this is something, or on your show, this is something I am constantly working on. But we were talking last night about like reality TV.
Yeah.
And I've just started dipping my toes.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Summer House is now my vice. Yeah. It's
so
bad.
Good.
I stayed up way too late last night.
It's funny because I only watched this past season. I haven't watched the previous like 10 seasons. Do I need to get into everything?
Okay. I kind of like you. I know the context because I listen to Giggly Squad. So like my feed is all them. And then it starts sending me Bravo things. And so I watched the finale of the most recent season. And then I was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
So I started with season 3.
Okay.
And yes, you have to.
Yeah. But so you're getting in, this is like your first foray into reality TV.
Minus Laguna Beach.
Okay.
Which we obviously need to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, in high school, like, yeah, of course, we watched Laguna Beach. My first kiss with my husband was watching Newport Harbor.
Stop it. Yep. Oh my God.
But you weren't on, were you?
I wasn't on Laguna Beach or Newport Harbor, but
you were
Laguna
on
Beach,
the
I was on the hills. So Laguna Beach was like the first iteration of the show. And then Lauren moved to LA and started working at Teen Vogue. And I was her coworker at Teen Vogue.
So yeah. Newport Harbor, was that like Kristen's spinoff?
I think Newport Harbor was just like a different spinoff with other people.
I swear someone was on it. Okay, whatever.
Maybe someone else was on it. I can't remember.
So when you like, I have 1,000 questions.
Tell me.
Because you're also such a icon for our generation.
That's so funny.
You are. And like I saw your video of the Unwritten playing at Sunny's graduation.
Yeah.
And I watched Anyone But You. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay. I really did not like it. I'm just going to be blatantly honest. It sucked.
Horrible.
And I feel badly saying that, but it was so bad.
It was so bad. And I felt bad for Sydney Sweeney the whole time. I felt like they were just objectifying her. And it was bad.
I don't know why they needed to show me that guy's dick squirting, like trying to squirt water in the shower, like doing some turtle move. I'm on a plane, okay? It's on my screen and all of a sudden I'm looking at a tip of someone's penis. But
everyone's like, what is that
bitch
bitch watching?
Came out of nowhere. Like, why? Why was that necessary? And
but a good plane movie.
I was really upset. I'm not going to lie to you.
That you wasted that time.
No. Well, yes, but not that, because I did not prepare for my flight and Wi-Fi never fucking works on a plane. So I couldn't download any Summer House. Which is what I wanted to do.
You need to for tonight. You need to get prepped.
Sleeping. I need to sleep.
Okay.
But yes, I wanted to watch Summer House and I wanted to do this like To Be Magnetic program that I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Anyway, I couldn't do any of it. So then I had to resort to the TV. So I watched that. I cross-stitched and I watched a few episodes of Friends. Anyway, in the movie, Unwritten is such like a pivotal song.
I know.
And tell me why my whole body gets chills when I hear that song.
And I feel like the young generation like doesn't even know what the song is from.
Context.
No context. So like, this song's so good.
I had full body chills. So when I saw your video, I was dying. I think I commented. I was like, Whitney, this is iconic.
Yeah, I know. So
like,
it was
little do those people know.
I know. The 6th grade class sang the song and I started full sweating. I was like, oh my God, is everyone looking at me? And like, no one was looking at me. to take
No
off
one
my
knows
jacket.
who I am, but I think everyone knows.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that it's all the nostalgia of it has all come back because I also feel like COVID, everyone started doing like when we started doing our rewatch and like people were just yearning for the old good old days.
Absolutely.
And so,
I rewatched One Tree Hill.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like a big rewatch moment. But yeah, that was such a crazy phase in my life.
So how did you even get involved?
So I was working at Women's Wear Daily as a fashion intern, and I had heard that Teen Vogue was looking for interns for the fall, and they were in the same building as us. And I was going to USC, and so I just applied to Teen Vogue to be an intern. And the next thing I know, I get a call from MTV producers, and they're like, "We're starting to film a show at Teen Vogue. We saw that you applied for the internship. We would love to actually do a casting tape because we're filming a show based on some girls living in LA working in fashion." And I was like, what? And I told my parents and they were like, just go for it. Try it. So I did a casting tape where I like set up a camera on my parents' bed and, you know, the producers like on the phone asking me questions. And I was like, I'm never going to get this. Like, this is so, I don't know. Reality TV was also not the same, but I didn't even think about it as like a realistic option. And I really just wanted the fashion internship. But next thing I know, they call me and they're like, we would love for you to come in for an on-camera interview with Lisa Love, the editor of Teen Vogue. And we'll go from there. So I was like, okay. So I show up for this interview and I'm sitting in the waiting room and there's cameras. They're like getting me, and Lauren walks in, and I watched. I was going to say, did you watch Laguna Beach? I knew who she was. So she walks in, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like I'm fully on. This is like her spinoff show. Like what? Oh my God. So at that moment, I realize where I am, and I'm like, this is so cool, and I'm like want the job, you know. Yeah. So little did I know they had like already cast me to be her friend, coworker on the show, but that's like organically how it happened.
That's wild.
Yeah, like I wasn't trying to be on TV. I would never.
Which I feel like was very only that time. Now I feel people go on reality TV because it is such a pipeline to become an influencer.
Fully.
It's like people aren't going, no offense, on The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, in my opinion. They're not really finding love.
I know, but I feel like the best reality TV personalities are the ones that are not like desperate for it, you know, because they're being themselves and there's authenticity there.
But I think that was rare because that was before reality TV was what it is now.
Totally.
Like that and Jersey Shore.
Yeah, totally. Well, Jersey Shore, I know. Was that
the best show ever?
So good. I want to do reaction videos to that, but MTV won't allow us anymore. Oh. Yeah. But it was that whole thing. It turned into this. I did not know or expect it to be what it was. And reality TV again was so different. And I'm grateful for that because we weren't asked to like, you know, throw people under the bus constantly.
I have a few questions. Yeah. First and foremost, did you guys sign NDAs? And like, did they all expire? Because I feel like nowadays people are all of a sudden talking a lot about like with Kristen and Steven's rewatch. Like, were there NDAs? Well, I guess you would know.
No.
So like you're allowed to, everyone was always allowed to talk about it? Because I feel like only recently people really started to be like, that was fake, that was real.
I think during the time, I don't remember signing an NDA, but I think at the time we didn't want to like ruin the illusion for anybody.
I guess that makes sense.
I think
also social media wasn't what it is today. Like there weren't podcasts that you were talking about all this.
Yeah. And people weren't asking if it was real or fake at the time.
Because
everyone just thought it was real.
So like how much was real?
So I would say it was all based on a true story. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you see that in a movie.
Yeah, and you're like, so this is all fake, this is but there's one human that was maybe had like that dog.
Yeah, exactly. So like there were certain things that were really real. Okay. Like Lauren she moved to LA. She really wanted to be in fashion. Heidi was really her best friend. Audrina was fully cast on the show. They like saw her laying out at the Grove, those apartments, and they were like, you would be beautiful on camera. And like, you know, she was cast for that. And then it was staged in a way where, because they weren't filming 24/7, it wasn't like Summer House where they were catching everything. So nothing had to be,
which blows my mind because I don't need to see these people humping in bed. I feel like that's so wrong.
I know. I love when they're like getting ready for the night and they're like dancing and doing weird things.
I feel like
I know.
Where are the boundaries?
Totally. However, because they weren't filming 24/7 like that, we had to like reenact things, have conversations, like recap things.
What is that like to experience?
So annoying and frustrating. So like I would go into work, and granted, also our bosses were MTV. Like MTV was making our work schedule for us, and I wasn't going into Teen Vogue unless MTV was telling me to come in.
Okay.
And that was like, I guess I was okay with that because I felt like when I was there, they were giving me real jobs. And I also felt at the same time that Teen Vogue didn't really want me there otherwise.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like they were using us for like, to be a commercial for them, but I don't think they like really needed me to be an intern there. So, so we would go into film. I would get prepped by a producer and they would say, okay, Lauren went out last night. And like, whatever, I'm making up, ran into an ex and it was a really hard night for her. So I would, like be gentle on her, but maybe ask her how her night was, like just prep me for the conversation. Okay. So then I would go in and I was essentially like an improv actress that was based on reality. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be like, what, like, how was your night? How are you? And she knew too. Like we knew we were in there for an hour filming a scene. We didn't want to be there forever.
Right, that's
so we
very
had
different than what we're seeing now.
We had to get the conversations in. We had to get the beats in. And it was based on reality. Like she really did run into an ex, or a video of her really did get leaked. Like those things really did happen, and she really lost her friendship with Heidi. But the conversations, the follow-ups, everything after the fact was all had to be heavily produced. Do
you ever feel like, back to being okay with being misunderstood, like you got the wrong side of the script?
I think that I was so expressive that a lot of the times they were just like showing my faces, like
your inside thoughts are on your outside face.
Yes, and instead of like really valuable things that I was saying, and because I'm a really good listener, and I will, like with Lauren, we would really talk it out, and they wouldn't use those things, and so I felt a little bit misunderstood, that people thought that I was just like a ditzy fashion girl from LA. And then I think beyond that, in a more deeper way, had a little bit more imposter syndrome about the fact that I ever had any success because I was on a reality show.
Like later in life.
And I feel like I'm still like fighting against that. Like I'm still constantly feeling like what I do isn't enough. Like what I do, like I'll always be known for that. And I'm like, I want something else to happen that's like bigger than that. But also, who cares? Like that.
But I feel like that, okay, this is so not the same.
Yeah.
I'm going to be very clear.
No.
However, I feel this way around, there was a stage of COVID where I made these TikToks that went viral. And it was like in the era of early, like March, April, May 2020 COVID, when TikTok was like, whipped coffee, renegade, whatever.
Baking bread.
Yeah, like it was everything.
Yeah.
And people were blowing up. Wish the Creator Fund existed, because I would have made bank on some of these views. However, I made these videos of my mom being like our executive assistant, because we were all at my parents' house, we were all working, whatever. And they were just going viral.
I bet they were so funny.
They were so funny. However, I'll have some people be like, I've been following you since your executive assistant. I felt like, since, as if that was the start. And I was like, but I was making content for years before that.
Yeah.
Like, I get that's how you found me, but I felt And I don't know if
dismissed a little for all the work that you did.
And because I was like, but that was my mom. Like, that's not my page. And maybe that's how you feel about the character Whitney on the show, where it's like, but that's not me.
That's not me.
Okay.
And so even though now I feel more understood because I'm able to have that connection with everyone on social media, I still do have those little feelings of like, you know, nothing I do is ever going to be as successful as like that person that I was on TV.
I think you're way more successful now.
I think when I look at it logically and I think about the quality of what I do now, of like the meaning behind what I do now, yes, like I think I can say that. But I have to really go there and really think about it and remind myself. Yeah.
Can I ask another personal question about this? Like, what were you guys getting paid for these episodes? Like,
so much.
Oh, you were?
Okay, so my first season, I got paid $1,000 for the whole season. Okay. So nothing.
You just said so much.
No, the first season, nothing.
So a lunch at Erewhon.
Yeah. I feel like second season, it got to maybe to be around like 10.
Okay.
An episode.
That's good.
And then.
And is it staggered by like how popular you are?
Yes. Okay. I don't even know if I can say how much I was making.
That's
in the
fair.
City. I'll
That's
tell
totally
you
fair.
afterwards.
Okay. So
but it was insane.
Okay. And was the
way
City
more than people are making
spin-off?
now? The City was my spinoff.
I feel dumb asking that question.
You now
I know
need to
I
go back and watch it.
Should I?
Yes. Go have fun and watch it. It's fun.
Okay.
It's fun time. Yeah.
I feel like I did watch some episodes of it, but I didn't. But I will say I feel like your guys' cast between all of the spinoffs and the original, it's kind of wild how relevant you all still are. Like, do you ever think about that?
Like in terms of the hills or the city people?
Laguna Beach, the hills.
Everybody.
Like, I feel Jersey Shore, and I'm not comparing you all. Yeah. But like, there's not much,
Yeah.
Between you, like Lo has Love Wellness.
Yes. Kristen
has her show.
Yeah.
Spencer Pratt Daddy is wild on TikTok.
Yeah, but he's out there doing his thing. Like,
it's all relevant in a way still.
That's actually, thank you for saying that. I'm so happy that you say
that.
No,
it is.
I think that a few of us really took what we did and ran with it and were like smart business people about it. And I feel like so grateful for that. But I wonder why that is.
I wonder this, and I was listening to your episode with Lo, where like so many of you in that time wanted to almost like create an identity. Again, I'm completely projecting, but create an identity outside of that show. And also, I think the timing of it all was great because there are 10,000 reality TV shows now. Like there are it's so oversaturated. It's so oversaturated. And people can get other people outside of reality TV have platforms. I just feel like it was this perfect timing. And also like you guys were iconic to the millennial generation. Like you guys were royalty.
That's so crazy. But I agree with what you mean because I think The Hills at the time, it was such a phenomenon.
It was.
And there was nothing else like it. So there was no... Like right now, you're right. It's just so oversaturated that everybody's kind of getting lost in the mix. And once the shows are gone, you're done. Yeah.
It's so insane to me though now that Laguna Beach was a high school.
Isn't it?
That's fucking insane.
I know. Can you believe that they filmed that show in a high school?
That is so illegal in my opinion.
I agree. And they're like drinking heavily.
Like, could you imagine now being like, oh, let's turn on this reality TV show of high schoolers?
I know. Well, they never filmed on campus, I guess. Like they never filmed at school, but I know.
When I interviewed Lo, I was like, that's crazy to me.
And I think that's part of the reason. And I have no idea because I don't really talk to Lauren too much anymore, but I think for her, it was like, she started doing this in high school. And I think she was like, I think now, I mean, she's so successful and she has her clothing line, everything, but she's definitely not as like visible on social. Like she doesn't put herself out there as much. And I think that's probably because like
you're scarred.
She's just done. Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm already like, get me the fuck out of here. I'm so sick of myself. I'm so sick of myself. I know we talked about this last night of like,
hearing yourself.
I don't want to see anything. No. I don't want to rewatch any. Like I am done. I'm done. Okay.
Maybe have someone else edit. Do you edit all your own stuff?
No.
Okay.
The show? Absolutely not.
No, do you edit your own?
Oh, it depends.
Like, social reels.
Chloe
all that
does some.
stuff.
My like right hand creatively does some, and then I do some. It depends on like the scope of it. If it's so easy, like
did you edit that reels you did this morning?
That was so easy.
Oh, not for me.
That took me. No, that was easy. I took literally the quickest videos, and then I laid in bed this morning watching.
See, yeah, but like for me, like I'll hyper fixate and be like, was that the best moment from the video?
So I do not care at all about that.
Okay,
like the content I put out, and maybe
you don't care
it's
how it looks or what it.
I
wish I was more like that
the other day. Who's a creator who was in New York for a stint. And I was like, I want to see you. I'm here this one day and then I'm going away. And she was like, oh, the lighting is like the best in my apartment. And I have to shoot things. And I was like, and that's why your reels look the way they do. And mine look the way I do. Because you think I've ever thought about that?
But there's value in that. Like,
it's all a different community.
It's all, yes.
Different content, different consumers.
But I like both is the thing why it's confusing for me. Like, I'm not the kind of, you won't come into my house and it's not perfect and I'm messy and my car is dirty and I'm not that person. And so I don't want my feed to be like perfectly curated and everything edited. But at the same time, like I do like an aesthetic. So I get confused with like where I should be.
For me, it's all about like not letting perfection get in the way of progress. Because if I had these perfect standards, and this is across all aspects of my life, I wouldn't do shit.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'd hold myself back and be like, well, that's not perfect. And literally, we were talking about this on your show, like the little things you can do for yourself. It's the same thing with working out.
Yeah.
I used to have this like concept that I had to be in like this perfect set and I had to be in a class for 15 minutes, blah, blah, blah. I work out most times in my pajamas.
Yeah.
While my kids are literally sitting next to me, like doing something.
Yeah.
And it's 15 to 20 minutes. And like, if I let this concept of perfect get in the way, I would never work out.
You never do it. I know. I'm like that. I mean, I work out in my pajamas at home too. And then I'm like, I should probably share this, but I don't want to share me in my pajamas doing an at-home workout. That's so boring. So then I just don't share.
Someone actually commented once, like, you have such an interesting way of creating. Oh, fuck. What was the comment? And it was supposed to be a diss, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure it was not nice. It was like, you really turn anything into content or something. And I was like, damn fucking right I do.
Yeah. As you should.
And I actually don't care. I'm taking that as a compliment because I've been now given this gift of being able to have a job that pays me.
Yeah. To
while
live
also
your life.
living my life and just being truthful to that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, I will make content out of going to the park with my toddler at 7 a.m. while I've got my baby strapped onto me, like whatever. There we go.
There we go. And now I'll also forget too.
Oh, well, I always forget.
You do?
I try really hard to
I'm like,
I'll take a
like
2-second thing. I'm like, just set this up, outfit, done.
To do, I'll forget. And like because for me, also I'm a little bit older than you. So social media doesn't always come so naturally to me. So I will just forget or be like, no one's going to care. I'm always like, no one's going to care. No one needs to see this.
People do care. And well, you know what it is? Does everyone need to see this? No. But whatever, someone will enjoy it. And for that one person, here you go.
Totally.
I want to talk really quickly because something we've been working on together is the High Confectionary, which my community knows about because I talk about them all the time.
Yeah.
Nothing better than these like snackable
like fun gummies
edibles
that taste good and make you feel good.
The best.
Yeah, the best.
So how are you enjoying them? And like, what's your favorite part of it all?
Okay, so watermelon is definitely my favorite flavor. Okay. The watermelon uplift ones, even though the apricot is so good and so like Timmy takes them now and he's like, these are amazing. I don't wake up groggy.
No.
Best dreams. So basically I mean, I can eat a lot. Right now, like I said, I'm not partaking because of my egg retrieval and I'm trying to just keep my body clean. However, on a daily basis, I'm either like a gummier before, same with you, like gummy shower situation, or at the end of the night, like having a joint with my husband. But I just love the High Confectionary because I feel like I've talked to so many women who are so afraid to try it, and they don't understand how much it can actually calm them down and like uplift any experience. And for me, it's like the fact that they're only 1 milligram makes it dosable for anybody, whether you want to snack on 10. Exactly. Whether you want to snack on 10 or whether you want to like just feel the slightest tinge of something. And it's just been really great to also, I feel like for us, it's a community is what what we really, really want to build here, because there's obviously such a community of wine moms. And I think it's like everyone's so okay at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock having a glass of wine. But as soon as the mom says, I'm going to have a gummy or, you know, take a little hit of something, you're immediately judged. And I'm just sick of that. Like, I don't think that we deserve it. I feel like women should be able to partake and have fun without being labeled as like a stoner or lazy or an irresponsible parent. So
I also think it must be so interesting to like observe this demographically, because I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel none of that judgment with people in my life.
I don't have in my life.
None.
No.
But then like I realize that judgment exists because I see it in my DMs every once in a while.
Totally.
So I'm like, it must just be, I don't know what,
like where
is it
it's
community?
coming from?
Is it where you're living? Is it what you're exposed to? I mean, there's so much deep rooted shit.
I know. And
that
agreed. I think that it also has come a long way in the past, you know, few years as it's become so much more legal
the generation
in
above
places.
us is all stoners now.
Yeah.
Like my parents and friends, I will just say that. I will just do a blanket statement of the generation of like our parents. Everyone's getting high.
Totally.
It's hilarious to observe.
It is. It's amazing.
So I'm like, wow, this really all shifted.
It really did. And also I think so many people are scared of, like we were talking about, that one high, that bad high that they had. And so they think that that's what's going to happen. And they think about an edible. They're like so nervous. And that's what's so great, is that you can dose yourself
Control your
with
dose.
this. Yeah. But it's like really, I just love getting high. Like I just love it. Like I just love at the end of the day, it is a self-care practice for me. Like I too, my brain starts to just like slow down. My body starts to slow down. I feel like my nervous system calms down, and I need that. And I don't want to, I shouldn't say I need that, but
but you're allowed to enjoy that.
We're allowed to enjoy that. And I feel like it's better for me than a glass of wine. Like,
absolutely. And I remember someone once messaging me being like, well, it'd be nice if you didn't need a vice to escape. And like, it would be nice.
It would be nice.
However, I also...
Why is it also a vice, though?
Well, agreed.
Because it's plant medicine.
But I also will say that, like, a lot of times it's not even something that I'm doing to escape. It's something I'm doing to tap more in.
To enhance. Exactly.
To quiet the voice.
That's so true.
Focus. To like be more present. And yes, do I wish I had a brain that naturally felt that way? Duh.
Totally.
I would pay a lot of money for that.
Exactly. But for me, it's also so great. Like before I work out, if I want to eat a few gummies to like tap into my workout a little bit more, like I notice that I'm connecting to my form a little bit. Or if I'm
going to take one before my Pilates class tonight.
You should.
And then I have a night one for the red eye.
Perfect for that.
Yeah.
Like those little experiences, or if you're like going to Disneyland with your child, you know what I mean? Like little
the
things.
Most overstimulating place in the world.
That can just like uplift a hectic environment. Yeah.
Well, this was so fun. The other thing I love about the High Confectionary is that I feel I've connected with you in like a whole new way.
I know.
So I'll link it in the show notes. Cam20, I think, will get you a 20% discount.
Amazing.
But where can people, I mean, I feel like everyone who's listening knows where to support you, but where can they support you?
You're so sweet. And that's cute that you say support instead of find you. That's really cute.
Oh,
I'm like, where can everybody find you?
You can take it.
You can support me at Whitney Port is my Instagram. My YouTube, just Whitney Port. My podcast, With Wit. And then,
all of it.
All
okay.
of it.
Well, this was so great.
So
You're like,
great.
I don't think you understand. And I always tread lightly in this because I'm like, I don't want to seem like a creep. But like little me, younger me would be freaking. Freaking. And when I told my friends that we were texting about something the other day, they were like, can we just take a step back for a sec?
Yeah.
You're texting Whitney Port?
We're buddies.
And I was like, yeah, my life is weird now.
I mean, because I know our lives are really weird now, but I get it too because like I fangirl over people.
Wait, can you tell me like who have you fangirled over recently?
My recent is Paige DeSorbo. Like I
don't even get me started.
Her. I'm
don't
like envious
even
of
get
her.
me started.
I'm like, why am I jealous of her?
I'm so jealous of her. I want her on my podcast so badly.
Yeah, what she should come on.
I'm trying.
Okay. I want her to do High Confectionary with us.
Yes.
Like giggles but I don't know if she's a stoner. I'll find out.
I'm pretty sure they're high all the time in Summer House.
Right? They have to be.
I mean, I don't know that, but like it kind of seems like
let's spread the rumors.
Like her and Amanda were doing those like Taki pickle, like
yes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get there. But Paige, I love. She's just the most recent one that I really like. Yeah, we have the same agent, and I've met. I met her when I hadn't watched the show yet, so I knew nothing about her. So when I met her, I was like, "Oh, this girl's so cute and sweet." Yeah. And then I watched the show, and I was like, I fucking love this girl.
Yes,
like she is so confident.
She's
like
so
she
true
knows
to herself.
Her worth. I loved it because I'm like, she has good taste. She has good style.
Her
no one on
eyebrows,
TV ever has good style.
Eyebrows.
Oh my God, I need to look at her eyebrows.
No, like it's the first thing I look at. I don't know why I'm obsessed with the shape of them.
Oh my God, now I need to look at her eyebrows. We're going too crazy.
So she's a fangirl.
She I loved. Who else do I love?
Like, have you met anyone in the past like year or two where you're like, oh my God, like that moment? I feel like you LA people are so destigmatized.
I know. I'm not. There's like no one that I can. I remember distinctly, just like back in my Hills days, seeing Rev run at like the VMAs and being so starstruck because I thought he was so great. I was like, "You're such a good dad," and those messages you say in the bathtub at the end of the night, they really hit me.
What was the name of that show?
It was
fuck. All right, whatever.
I can't remember. We're going to find out. What was it called? Run's House. Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember being starstruck with him. He's like one of the only people. And then also, I mean, this is not a reality person, but.
No, it doesn't have to be reality.
Okay. There's a dad at my school.
Who's famous?
So Jason Bateman.
What? He's my number one favorite person.
No, he's not.
Ever.
He's mine too.
I love him. I'm obsessed with him.
I can't. He's a dad at my school, and
how do you?
I die every time I see him. I die.
I love him
if his wife is listening,
much.
I'm so sorry. Like I'll never talk to him. I'll never never engage with him. I just love him.
He's so funny.
He's so funny, and he's just my vibe.
Yes.
So him.